You might not know what you think you know about XRP, Ripple, or what's going to happen to the US banking system after what I show you. Everything is falling into place. Documents, time, and insider moves. This is a sign of something very important. Bigger than any approval for an ETF, more important than any court win. XRP could be the key to America's next financial restart because of what's happening now. I'm not telling you what to do with your money. I want you to pay attention right now for a reason. Because by the end of this, you'll know why a lot of people think Ripple has been working behind the scenes to build a whole new banking system for the US. You will get the full plan, as well as documents, infographics, and a video walkthrough that ties everything together and lets you see what's really going on behind the scenes. After this, go check it out. Let's get started. Here's something that's easy to miss. Ripple is no longer just another cryptocurrency business. Something much bigger is taking shape. The building blocks for the next age of banking infrastructure in the US. It has been building up to this point for years, and now the timing seems almost too good to be true. Let's start with what's going on in Africa right now. With the start of its stablecoin RLUSD, backed by the US dollar, Ripple hopes to power real payment rails across the continent. There are no tests being done in a lab. The deals with Cyphercast, Valor, and Yellow Card are real. In this case, the companies are moving real money between countries. And this is the crazy part. Ripple's XRP ledger has been tried against regulatory frameworks in Africa more than once. In other words, Ripple isn't just trying new things, it's practicing. You can turn on the devices they have there from anywhere, even in the United States. Consider it. Africa is special because it has low-cost trains, a lot of money sent back home, and almost no old banking infrastructure that gets in the way of new ideas. It's the right place to test a backbone for global payments. Once it works in one place, the same rails can quickly light up in other places, which is exactly what Ripple is setting up. Now let's go back to the real world, because Ripple has been walking right into the US banking system while everyone is looking at price charts. It was Brad Garlinghouse who said it. Ripple has asked for a Federal Reserve master account, a US banking charter, and even a license from the OCC. That's not typical crypto land. In other words, you are going right to the heart of the American banking system. Brad said in an interview that Ripple isn't trying to take the place of banks. It tries to connect blockchain and traditional banking. He said it straight out. We're not against regulation. We need to do things the right way. That's the kind of language you use to talk to governments, not to fight against them. It's clear. Ripple isn't pleading for help. It's getting ready to accept. What's crazy is this. In October, the formal application for Ripple to become a national trust bank was set to be looked over. In October, what else do you think will happen? A halt of the government. That means that almost everything in Washington stops, except for what is considered important. Think about this. Things take longer than planned. One thing, though, the law of clarity. Should that bill become law, XRP might be the only cryptocurrency in the US that is completely legal. Now put those puzzle parts back together. There is going to be a liquidity problem. The Treasury needs safe, instant, and scalable cash flow, something quick and easy to cross countries with. Which digital asset is already linked to Ripple's business-grade systems, works with global banks, and has been tried by regulators? XRP. Every move looks like a piece on a bigger game when you look at it from a distance. The pilots from Africa, the start of the stablecoin, the policy for banks, the length of time the government was closed. It's not chaos, it's about coordinating. That's not all. As all of this is happening, one of Ripple's biggest internal moves makes the news. David Schwartz is leaving his job as CTO of Ripple after a long time. He isn't leaving the ecosystem totally, but he is no longer building every day. Instead, he is becoming a board member and overseeing the project. What does that matter? As soon as the base is done, the builders leave. The architects leave once the building is finished, and the agencies move in. Now take a look at who will be speaking at this year's Swell Conference by Ripple. This is where it starts to look like the financial Avengers. NADAC, BNY Mellon, BlackRocket, Citi, Bytewise, JP Morgan Co., CME Group, Wenk. Stick to it. These donors aren't picky. These are the big banks that handle liquidity, custody, and the core of traditional banking. Why would all of these people show up at Ripple's event all of a sudden? There is no better time than now for Ripple to start a stablecoin, apply for a bank charter, and have its CTO step down all at the same time. It's the time when the torch is passed. Now, Ripple doesn't need a founder at the heart. To make what's already been built bigger, it takes a lot of institutions. And it looks like that's what's happening. Now, pay close attention to the next part because it's where things on a national level come together. There are now rumors going around that President Trump is planning the foundations for a quantum finance system, a huge change to how the U.S. pays its debts and makes payments. It can't be slow, expensive, or untested if it needs a digital product to work. It needs to be quick, fully legal around the world, and ready to go big. There is only one digital object that fits the bill: XRP. Just think about the news stories that would shock every market. As part of a new quantum financial effort, the U.S. uses XRP infrastructure to handle debt payments. That would be passed in an instant. Ripple turns into the main source of funding for a new monetary system. And just as things are getting interesting, something else takes place. Eric Trump, a member of the Trump family, goes on Fox Business and says, quote, "Crypto is quickly replacing traditional finance." He didn't say that it might happen one day. He said it's going on right now. The Trump family has a lot of ties. They hear talks that other people don't hear about until months later. What if that comment wasn't just a thoughtless quip? Because most people were scrolling past that story, he spoke almost at the exact moment that Ripple's U.S. filings were being looked over, just as big banks announced they would be at swell. Now you can see it, putting the pieces in order. Ripple makes cross-border processes better in other countries, files that let you do all of your business from home. A lot of big institutions start to move in. The CTO steps down because the base is now set. The U.S. government shutdown makes everything take longer, besides the one thing that could finally make things clear legally for Ripple. Then people close to Trump start to imply that crypto, maybe this particular crypto, is already taking the place of traditional banking. That's how it works. The pieces are on the board already, and what comes next might happen faster than anyone thinks. Because XRP isn't just another cryptocurrency. If even a small part of this works out the way it looks now, it's the thing that could start the next age of money. And as all of this builds, from stablecoins to national banking licenses, from Ripple's reorganization to institutional takeovers, something else starts to happen in the background. Even though crypto regulation is still a big topic of debate in the news, Ripple's footprints can already be seen deep inside the American banking system. Banks like BNY Mellon, Citi, JP Morgan, and Fidelity, which have been around for decades, are now suddenly on board with the blockchain technology that Ripple created. And it's no longer just public relationships or performances. It includes things like integration, custody solutions, settlement tests, and liquidity corridors. The same pipes that every day keep the world's banking system running. This isn't a guess. These are the operational systems that are being set up below the surface. Do you remember when Brad Garlinghouse said that Ripple was connecting the old and the new? This is the truth. There is already a bridge there. And in the middle is XRP, the only digital asset that was made to quickly move money across countries, through banks, and between currencies. You may have seen the big players getting ready for the next big money period. BlackRock has been making plans for tokenized assets. Citi has been testing out on-chain treasury options in the background. Crypto control is a big deal for Fidelity. JP Morgan has been making changes to its Onyx platform for payments between institutions. But while each of these big companies works on a different part of the system, Ripple's technology connects them like a web. The entity that gives the rails will win in the end. The exact thing that Ripple is building is that. We need to talk about that ripple effect. To the point. Since many years ago, Ripple has been trying corridors all over the world: Asia, Africa, the Middle East, Japan, and Latin America. Each one was a point in a network that could one day be linked together to form a single fluid system. All of those pieces are beginning to fit together. The last practice was in the African passageways. The proof that XRP can work with more than one set of rules, move real money, and stay in line with central banks all at the same time. The main point that most people miss: those halls aren't different. They are stackable. As soon as you flip one switch, wealth moves across all of them. The XRP ledger can handle deals very quickly since it doesn't depend on miners or slow middlemen. Another big payment system around the world can't match that right now. Now is when things start to get interesting. The US is moving into a time when old technology can't be used to deal with problems like debt limits, cash flow problems, and settlement delays. Moving trillions of dollars through a banking system that was built in the 1970s and wasn't meant to handle fast value transfers doesn't work well. The Fed knows this. This is known by the Treasury. Even the banks know it. Think about this. You are in a meeting in Washington, D.C. with the doors locked. A group of people from the Treasury, central banks, And the biggest financial firms are talking about how to redesign the payment system's core. SWIFT is out of date. Fedwire has some limits. Instant payments are only available within the United States. Then an idea comes up on the table. Use a settlement layer built on blockchain that already links hundreds of banks around the world. One that can be checked, is open, and can move money around in real time. That's the Ripple. That's XRP. Now think about how that talk would go in a political setting. You'd need a method that can say, made in America on the box, something that is already legal, something backed by the US government, not a network like the Wild West. Ripple is a great fit for that. The company is American and is run by Americans. They work with officials instead of against them. If the US government were to support or even secretly use a digital asset for managing debt or cash flow, Ripple would be the only natural choice. The wild card is then added, the Trump side. There have been rumors and reports that a new quantum financial system is being planned. This could be part of a longer-term plan to change the way the country's money works. The plan is the same as what Ripple has already built, whether you call it that or just updating the Federal Reserve's payment network. The time is too close to be ignored. In 2025, Ripple's banking files, the government's cash flow issues, and political stories about regaining financial independence all come together. Eric Trump wasn't exaggerating when he said that crypto is quickly taking the place of traditional banking. What he said is exactly what's going on below the surface. The way that money works is changing. As a result, XRP is right in the middle of this change. In terms of how that could work, let's break it down. Let's say that the US Treasury starts using Ripple to settle foreign payments. Instead of sending money through slow correspondent banks, they use RLUSD, which are tokenized versions of dollars that settle quickly against XRP liquidity pools to move value. A Japanese bank can quickly pay a seller from Brazil. In this case, the XRP ledger is in the middle and changes currencies without keeping any on either side. That's how global funding might work once Ripple's network is fully up and running. As this grows, you suddenly have the freedom to move loans, bonds, and reserves with the same ease. That's when the story of the quantum financial restart starts to make sense. The story is not science fiction, it's evolution. Some people wonder why the US government would ever hire a private company to do that. It's easy to answer. They already do. From SWIFT to Visa to DTCC and other big financial infrastructure providers, they all started out as private companies that grew into systemic ones. Ripple is just the next step forward. As soon as you put up the tracks, the system depends on you. That's exactly where Ripple is going. Let's link up another post. It wasn't a step back when David Schwartz quit as CTO. It was a sign that Ripple's tech stack is done. Picture a rocket taking off. The engineers leave the cockpit once the engines are stable and the direction is set. Don't keep putting the ship back together while it's in the air. At the same time, institutional giants like BlackRock, Fidelity, and JP Morgan are coming on stage left. These companies are experts in scaling, security, and integration on a national and global scale. That's not an accident. It's a change. While they're setting themselves up, Ripple's Swell Conference shows off the future of banking. The biggest names in the money markets are there with politicians and engineers working on blockchain. It has never happened on this big of a size before. Now think about what happens right after things like this. There are whispered announcements of new trial programs, signed memorandums of understanding between payment networks and banks, and tests of integration with the Federal Reserve or groups with ties to the Treasury. The spread is slow and controlled. That's what we're doing now. The part about building things is over. The part of getting started has begun. It's possible that not all of the delays you're seeing are bad. It could be the government shutdown, the timing of regulatory decisions, or the Clarity Act. The pace could be off, keeping everything in line so that when the switch is flipped, the system changes smoothly instead of stuttering. That's what makes Ripple so great. It's flexible, easy to use, and made up of modules. In other words, they can open liquidity corridors one area at a time without bringing the whole system down. So while the news talks about crypto bans and ETF approvals, the real game is going on below. It's not competing with speculative tokens. XRP is replacing the pipes of global banking. Let's look ahead and project that. Once Ripple gets full US clarity and is recognized as a national trust bank, it will be able to hold savings, make loans, and offer custodial services, same rights as any bank that is approved by the federal government. When you add in its payment system and global relationships, you get something that has never been seen before, a blockchain company that acts as both a hub for liquidity and a payment network for the whole financial system. This is why time is very important. As soon as that status is accepted, Ripple won't have to fight to stay relevant. Central banks, companies, and digital assets can all use it as a link. That's where the rumors about Trump's possible plan come together again. You can't roll out a coordinated attempt to restructure debt, stabilize liquidity, and move into a new era of tokenized finance if the networks are broken up and haven't been tested. You'd need something that has been used for years and is trusted by institutions. Ripple is the only one that works. The way things are going is almost magical. The case, which at first seemed like a setback, gave Ripple the paperwork, work with regulators, and openness it needed to be accepted at the highest levels. What they went through in the storm gave them credibility. Institutions that used to stay away are now all coming to the table. This isn't just the start of the next bull run, it's the start of a new banking order. We are seeing the first signs of this change happen right now as Ripple's global rails are finalized and the US gets ready to accept new frameworks. The testing, the alliances, and the times when the news came out. Because the switch won't slowly come out after being turned on. It'll happen overnight, just like how the internet went from being cool to being necessary. So keep an eye on the papers, the bank charters, the decisions about clarity, and the moves by institutions. These things don't just happen. They are steps that work together to get to the same place. And as that goal gets closer, the global side of the story starts to come to the surface. Because other countries are not going to sit still while Ripple sets up shop in the US. The digital yuan in China, the digital euro in Europe, and cross-border partnerships are all racing to be in charge of the next wave of global money. But Wall Street and Washington will only accept one system. That's where Ripple's role becomes very important. The next part isn't just about banks or payments, it's about the power of money around the world. The fighting lines are already being drawn. Tokenized dollars are digital copies of real money that can move quickly through private and public networks. They are being pushed by the US and its allies. On the other hand, China is moving quickly with its digital yuan and is putting it into trade deals in Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. There is also Ripple, a quiet middleman that has already set up links between the two. RippleNet has been running corridors that connect almost all of the world's big financial centers. Some of these trade lines run right through China's Belt and Road Initiative. That means that Ripple's rails could serve as a neutral link between different digital currency systems, even if no one meant for that to happen. That's what makes XRP so smart. It's not just a sign, it's a way to send value that goes beyond the politics of money. Also, think about the time again. While central banks are rushing to make their own CBDCs, Ripple's technology has already been put to the test. It doesn't mean that governments have to give up their own currencies. It lets them work together. That makes Ripple the Switzerland of global payments. It is politically neutral, has better technology, and is ready to be the bridge layer when the dust passes. What does this have to do with the US? Due to the fact that the next global banking system will not be chosen in a courtroom or a Senate hearing. The person in charge of the system that moves money the fastest and safest will decide. The US can't depend on a system like SWIFT that is 50 years old if it wants to keep being the leader. Something new is needed, something made in the United States and ready to go right now. That's exactly what Ripple gives you. This could also explain why the company's tone changed so much this year, from defensive to bold. It's almost like they know the finish line is getting close. Every paper, speech, and relationship seems to be working together toward the same reveal. You can feel it. Brad Garlinghouse isn't talking like the CEO of a new company anymore. It sounds like he's a politician or someone who is an important part of the future of finance. The leaders of Ripple are talking with bank executives, regulators, and policymakers. They are no longer pleading for permission. They are making the plans. It all makes sense when you zoom out. The launch of the Africa stablecoin shows that it works. The banking charter papers make the business official. The institutional relationships make it possible to grow. And the fact that debt restructuring, cash stress, and CBDC rollouts are all happening at the same time adds to the sense of urgency. The only thing that's missing is the key. Money will move in a way we've never seen before when that switch is turned on and off. New digital pipelines are moving trillions of dollars, deals happen in seconds, and the ledger keeps track of every move with military-grade accuracy. Imagine what will happen when that technology is used to make payments between sovereigns. The same system handles deals involving the treasury, the settlement of bonds, and the movement of cash in and out of the central bank. In that world, the need for XRP is no longer just an idea. It works by itself. The oil in the That's Why Time is so important. These changes happen first in secret, behind closed doors, in boardrooms, through pilot programs, and in talks for clearance that never make the news. And then one morning, a message comes down. What a title. One thing a government official said. All of a sudden, what seemed like a guess becomes the new truth. The internet did the same thing. No one cared for years. After a while, every business, deal, and talk went through it. Value is about to go through the same thing. And as the time gets closer, keep an eye out for these last signs. The first thing is that Ripple's National Trust Bank license has been officially approved. That means Ripple can join the U.S. banking system as a full-fledged funding and custody bank. Second, the passing or proposal of a Digital Asset Clarity Act, which makes XRP a real thing in U.S. law. The gates to the school open at that time. Third, people from the government and the Federal Reserve will be at Ripple's next world event. After that, the game is over, the reset has begun, and the merger is real. You won't have weeks to prepare, it will happen quickly, and the people who already know how the system is set up will be ready when the lights go on. That's why it's so important to connect these dots now. We can see Ripple's plan come together right now, not in price charts, but in rules, partnerships, and exact time. Things are going along, the base is being laid, and the world is getting ready to start a new era in money. Because there won't be another crypto bull run next. In a way, it changes what money is. For those who have been paying attention, this isn't just another chance. It's moving history. You know that XRP's story isn't about hype if you've read this far. It has to do with building things. The system that the whole world will count on for the next 100 years is up for grabs. And Ripple made it. It will be too late to catch up when the switch turns on.